A question that I've always had inside of the Backrooms, and I'm sure many of you have had it as well, is what happens if you fall into a pitfall inside of level 0? After scouring the internet for an answer, there's not really one definitive type. So in this video today, I'm going to be taking a look at all the evidence we have, all the theories, and a few possible answers and that sort of thing that might shed light on the question, what happens if you fall into a pitfall in the Backrooms? If you want more investigative, myth-busting style Backrooms videos, leave a like on this one. Without further ado, let's get into this explanation, and let's theorize what might happen. So to start, I'm going to have to answer the question, what are pitfalls? For those of you who don't know, pitfalls are large, empty, cubed cutouts of the floor in Backrooms Level 0. You've probably seen them before, maybe from Pixels found footage or other found footages, but these are very strange, out-of-place looking void areas. They're cut out so evenly, it looks like it's been done on purpose, and it just looks like it's not supposed to be there. Walking around these pitfalls and trying to balance over the top of them might induce vertigo, might induce dizziness, and I'll discuss all of that later on. In the Pixels universe and found footages, a guy named Marvin in the Pitfalls found footage video actually did fall down into one of them and was sent to some very strange, off-looking level 0. This part of level 0 did not look the same as the regular parts. Its wallpaper was different, its textures were different, and it had access to this other strange red area with more tunnels and more holes. So that still doesn't answer the question, but when Marvin falls down the hole and looks back up at where he just came, that's only one hole. There were 15 or 20 other pitfalls that Marvin could have fallen into, and only one of them led to where he's at. So that still leaves the question, where do these pitfalls go? Before I get into the theories, I want to tick off some things that we already do know about the pitfalls. As far as we know, pitfalls only occur in the deeper reaches of level 0, and not in any other levels or anything like that. We also know that some pitfalls just lead to more areas of level 0, as seen in Pixels found footage video, almost like they're a way to get to the second story below of the Backrooms. And lastly, we know that pitfalls induce paranoia and vertigo to those who try to climb around them and balance beam their way to the other side. Now this still leaves a ton of questions unanswered, I know, and now I'm going to go full MatPat mode and I want to examine a ton of theories that just might lead to the true nature of pitfalls and why they exist. Theory 1. Pitfalls lead to the void. Now in the Backrooms, you might come across many different levels that have entrances to the void. I'm sure y'all know what the void is, I'm not going to explain it here. But usually these entrances are in the form of cracks in the walls or in the foundations or some kind of crumbling occurring. You might be in a hallway, the floor below you is crumbling, and below that is the void. It's theorized that the void surrounds all of the Backrooms. It's kind of like what keeps all the levels together, like glue. It's a deadly place and there's like no oxygen there, and you're essentially condemned to die if you end up falling into it. So with all that said, it might be safe to say that pitfalls lead to this void. When you look down into a pitfall, what do you see? Endless blackness, darkness beyond your wildest dreams. Essentially, you see the epitome of nothingness, and that is exactly what the void is. This could mean that some of the pitfalls are endless and they don't actually have a bottom because there's no bottom to the void, you just fall into it. And that's pretty much identical to how other entrances to the void are explained. These pitfalls are holes in level 0 that lead to darkness. I mean, it would be pretty horrifying if there was an entrance to the void on the first level in the Backrooms you'll go to. That would be awful, especially for new people that come here, but it is a possibility. Theory 2. Pitfalls are a government research site. Now hear me out on this one. In the Backrooms lore, there are various agencies like Meg or Async that you've probably heard of. Whatever variation of the lore that you use, there's going to be some kind of agency or collective that searches and explores the Backrooms. Usually, these agencies are very secretive in how they search and study the Backrooms levels and their effects. In the most recent found footage video from Pixels, where Async inspects and researches the lights and the ceiling tiles in level 0, they actually end up cutting out a large square from the ceiling to get this entire light assembly out of it. They just cut a huge hole up there and rip it all down to study it. Something like that could be very similar to what they do to study the carpet or what's underneath the carpet in level 0. They could theoretically mine or quarry these huge rectangles and squares to study the components, what the carpet's made of, what's underneath the floorboards, and anything like that, just to see if there's anything below. So one of these agencies might have harvested the area where the pitfalls are to try to study whatever's in the carpet. And by doing so, they just left these massive holes that lead to nothing. I mean, it would make sense if you wanted to examine something. The first thing you do is just cut it up and take it back to the lab. So that almost makes sense. It's definitely more logical than the first theory, saying that they lead to the void. But even then, we just can't know. If this was the case and the pitfalls lead to nothing, just the bottom way down there, it's still really terrifying and would be awful if you fell into it, because then you would just be trapped at the bottom of a massive pit and you'd probably starve or something. That's almost as bad as falling into the void, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm just assuming that since the lights and the ceiling tiles seem to be mass-produced after being studied, maybe the researchers wanted to see if the carpet was mass-produced as well, and that's why they cut these giant squares out. Who knows? Another sub-theory, or half-theory, kind of similar to this one, is that Async purposefully cut these holes into level 0 to get easier access to the floors and parts of level 0 below the main part. So the headcanon that we understand in Kane Pixel's lore is that there are multiple different floors in level 0. You can go down and keep going down further to different areas. Maybe they cut into the floor on the top level with the goal of getting to the bottom level easier. Maybe they want to move some of their equipment down and it's just way easier to let it down through a hole than to find a staircase and carry it down. Who knows? It would sort of be like a makeshift elevator. We've seen in some of the found footages that these holes do lead to different areas, and in a recent one, it leads to an office room. So maybe that's by design, and maybe these guys in the yellow suits that are examining just don't know that. These pitfalls also might be a way for Meg or Async or whatever canon you follow to make rooms that they can't be chased through. For instance, in Kane Pixel's lore, the bacteria entity is lurking around level 0, and if you have one of these rooms with giant holes in it, you can kind of run through that room and evade the bacteria and it fall into a hole below you and you're free. Again, who knows? It's just a theory. The last main theory for the video, Theory 4, says that pitfalls are unrendered sections in the Backrooms coding. So pitfalls themselves are not the actual only holes that are available in level 0. There are circular cutouts that lead to vents. There are sub-levels that you can enter through small open areas in the walls and things like that. Essentially, there are rips in the space and time of level 0 that exist beyond the pitfalls. You just might not think of them that way, but these other entrances are kind of like unrendered textures. The Backrooms has a ton of proof that points to it as a concept being a simulated reality, kind of like a simulation Earth theory. And that's because in the lore, there are very odd, glitchy levels and integer limit levels and a ton of other computer-like places and effects that exist in different ways. First of all, the way you travel to levels through no clipping is very video gamey, very simulation computery, and the other physical effects that might be enigmatic in nature also point to a computer simulation type theory. So if this is a simulation, it would make sense for there to be a couple of errors, a couple of glitches, even in level 0. Like I said, tons of Backrooms levels are already glitchy or have unreliable structure, so what would make level 0 different from that? Level 0 already has non-Euclidean geometry, and it already has weird effects on your mind and body, and depending on what lore system you follow, there might even be weird creatures running around. Pitfalls might just be another part of that glitch, an incorrect rendering of level 0 that leaves huge holes in the floor. But again, we don't know. Honorable mention theories and other theories that have less evidence are that pitfalls are the home of unknown entities, pitfalls are caves to the basement sublevel of Backrooms level 0, pitfalls are their own level, and to enter this level, you have to fall through them, and lastly, pitfalls are just normal holes. There's nothing weird or off about them. They just naturally form in Backrooms level 0. But that's kind of lame, so I don't want to agree with it. My personal theory is that the pitfalls are probably unrendered errors in this infinitely generating expanse of the Backrooms. Level 0, like I said, is already odd. It's very weird with its effects, so it makes sense that the computer or the simulation or whatever created the Backrooms would have these errors. Errors occurring makes sense. It happens all over the Backrooms. But what do you think pitfalls are? Why do they exist? What's your weirdest theory about them? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to be reading the comments and pinning spinning my favorite theory. So leave your theory below. I want to see them. Also, leave a like while you're down there if you want more theories and myth-busting style videos about the Backrooms. This was fun to dive into. Even if I felt kind of crazy, I still enjoyed it, and I hope you had fun watching it. Who doesn't love diving into parts of lore that doesn't really matter? But seriously, in all reality, thank you for your support. Love you all. Can't wait to see you in my next video. And with all that said, bye.